Victor was a billionaire who lost something very important to him. Could have cost him everything. But a poor female construction worker found it and gave it back to him without knowing who he was. Why would someone that poor return something so valuable? And how did that one act of kindness change both their lives forever? Sit back and find out as we dive into the story of how a billionaire fell in love with a female construction worker who helped him in his distress. Do not forget to subscribe. In the restless, ever-moving city of Lagos, where horns never sleep and streets hum with the heartbeat of millions, a young woman named Clara Hale woke before the sun. Her morning began not with the comfort of an alarm clock, but with the familiar whisper of the dusty harmattan breeze leaking through the cracked window of the one-bedroom room she shared with her two younger siblings, Daniel and Bella. At only 24 years old, Clarissa had lived a life that felt far older than her age. Her eyes carried quiet storms, silent, deep, and unspoken. She tied a faded scarf around her hair, pulled on her worn-out boots, and stood for a moment watching Daniel and Bella sleep. Their thin bodies curled like children who had learned to fold themselves to save warmth. She whispered something she had whispered every morning for years. One day, things will change. But how? And when? Could someone born into hardship ever outrun suffering? Fate was already weaving its threads, but she didn't know that yet. Clarissa had been the head of her family since she was 12, the day a tragic bus accident stole both her parents on their way home from their village. No relative came to help. Neighbors whispered pity but offered nothing. In a blink, she became a mother to her 8-year-old brother Daniel and 6-year-old sister Bella. At first she sold bread on the roadside. Then she washed clothes. When those little earnings couldn't feed them, she begged a mason to teach her how to work at construction sites. Men laughed at her the first week she arrived, thin arms, soft face, wearing an oversized shirt. But pain had sharpened her and hunger had strengthened her. She learned to carry concrete blocks on her head, mix cement until her hands shook, push heavy wheelbarrows and climb scaffolds with the persistence of someone who had no other choice. She became stronger than even some of the men. But she remained gentle. Always gentle. Yet every night when the fatigue became too heavy for her body, she would sit on the edge of an unfinished building, staring at the sky as the city lights blinked like distant dreams. She would whisper to herself, "One day, something good will find me." But good things rarely find the poor. Or do they? Across the same city, in a luxurious penthouse overlooking the water in Victoria Island, another young soul began his morning, completely unaware that destiny would soon link his life with Clarissa's. His name was Victor Benjamin. 30 years old. Billionaire. Private. A man who avoided noise the same way others avoided trouble. His face appeared on magazines. His name floated in boardrooms. He owned 2 massive real estate companies, one in the US and one in Nigeria. But despite the wealth around him, he felt lonely. Women approached him with perfect makeup, flawless gowns, sweet voices, but greedy hearts. They loved his cars, his houses, his status. Not him. His mother, before she passed, always told him, "True wealth is shown in how you treat the least of people." He lived by that. Respected cleaners. Respected beggars. Respected everyone. But he longed quietly for someone genuine. Someone who wasn't dazzled by his wealth. Someone who saw the man, not the billionaire. He didn't know that fate had already chosen Clarissa and placed her in his path. All it needed was a spark. After years abroad running his business, Victor returned to Nigeria hoping for rest. He took a plain green t-shirt, jeans and a face cap. No convoy. No security detail. Just him and a modest black SUV. "I just want to breathe today," he murmured. He drove to a nearby supermarket, bought snacks and essentials, paid the cashier and placed his black wallet in his back pocket. Then he walked out into the warm Lagos morning. But fate played its role. As he walked, the wallet slipped from his pocket and fell silently onto the pavement. Victor didn't notice. He opened a bottle of water, drank slowly and drove away. Minutes later, Clarissa arrived at the same supermarket. She wanted to buy a soft drink and something small for energy before heading to the construction site. Money was tight, she counted it 3 times before paying. Stepping out, she noticed a dark wallet lying near the parked cars. She paused. Looked around. No one acted like they were searching for something. She bent down and picked it up. It was heavy. She opened it carefully. Foreign money. IDs. Credit cards. Business cards. Documents. Her breath caught. Who dropped all this? The devil whispered. Take the money. No one saw you. But her heart, the same heart that had guided her through loss and poverty, spoke louder. Return it. She walked back inside and approached the cashier. I found this outside. Please give it to the owner. The cashier stared shocked. You mean you're returning it? With all this money inside? Clarissa nodded. It's not mine. No bragging. No hesitation. Just quiet honesty. She walked away. Meanwhile, Victor reached a petrol station. The attendant smiled politely. Card or cash, sir? Card, Victor replied. Please pay first. We get network issues sometimes. Victor reached into his pocket. Cold panic hit him. He searched his pockets, car seats, bags. Nothing. My wallet. Where is my wallet? He jumped into his SUV and sped back to the supermarket. He rushed to the cashier. Did anyone find a wallet? The cashier nodded. Yes, a young woman returned it. They brought it out. Everything was intact. Victor closed his eyes and whispered, Thank God. Then he asked, Where is she? Did she leave her number? No, sir. She left immediately. Victor wrote his number on a paper and handed it to the cashier. Please give this to her if she ever returns. That night, Victor couldn't sleep. He kept thinking about the honest young lady he had never met. Who is she? Why didn't she take the money? How could someone so poor still be so upright? He felt something unusual, admiration. 3 weeks later, Clarissa returned to the supermarket. The cashier eagerly handed her the piece of paper with Victor's number. But fate twisted again. Her younger sister accidentally threw the bag containing the number into the trash. When Clarissa remembered, she ran outside barefoot. The trash bin was already emptied. She knelt beside it, tears dropping onto the pavement. Why God? Why now? He cried for a long time. But then whispered to herself. If it's meant to be, he will find me again. Days passed. Life continued. Then one Saturday, Clarissa attended a community outreach organized by a real estate company. As she received food items, she saw a familiar face, the cashier from the supermarket. Their eyes met. The lady who returned the wallet, the cashier said. You won't believe he's here. Clarissa froze. Her heart beat wildly. The cashier pointed to a quiet black SUV parked under a tree. He's inside. That's him. Before Clarissa could stop her, the cashier ran to the SUV and spoke to the man inside. The SUV door opened. Victor stepped out. When their eyes met, something shifted, quiet, powerful, undeniable. He approached her with a gentle smile. I finally found you. She lowered her gaze, shy. Good afternoon, sir. What's your name? He asked softly. Clarissa. He repeated it slowly as if savoring it. You have no idea how long I've waited to thank you. She explained how the number got lost. Victor chuckled kindly. Maybe this was meant to happen today. He handed her his phone. Please type your number. She did. He saved it immediately. Call me when you get home, he said quietly. Before leaving, he gave her a small envelope. Use this for groceries. She thanked him sincerely. But fate wasn't done. Inside the noisy bus she boarded afterward, her phone slipped from her lap and fell to the floor unnoticed. She arrived home and discovered it missing. She collapsed onto the floor, overwhelmed. God, are you testing me? Meanwhile, Victor called her number repeatedly that night. It was switched off. All night. All morning. He drove back to the supermarket. The cashier didn't know where she lived. Victor felt helpless. How could someone disappear twice? 2 days later, while driving across town, he saw an elderly woman fainting near a roadside banana stall. He rushed to help and recognized her as his childhood nanny. He took her home, fed her, clothed her. She revealed the heartbreaking story of how life had crushed her. Victor vowed, "You will never beg again." He hired engineers to build her a house immediately. One afternoon, he visited the construction site. Workers were carrying blocks. Then he saw her. A familiar face in dusty boots. Clarissa. Working as a laborer. His breath caught. He walked closer and called softly. Clarissa. She froze. Turned slowly. Their eyes met. You again, she whispered. Victor stepped near, voice warm but emotional. The day I learned you returned my wallet without taking a thing, I knew you were someone rare. But seeing you here, working under the sun, carrying heavy blocks, still humble, still honest. He shook his head, overwhelmed. You are someone extraordinary. He took a soft breath, then said gently, firmly, put that block down and come with me. The block trembled in her hands. Was this the beginning of something new? Could destiny really be this persistent? Was this the moment everything in her life would finally change? And how far could an act of pure honesty take a poor woman in a world ruled by power, wealth, and greed? Clarissa stood frozen, the heavy concrete block still balancing on her tired hands. Her heart thumped so loudly she could hear it echo in her ears. The sun burned hot above the construction site. Men shouted instructions, metal clanged against metal, but somehow the world felt strangely quiet around her. Victor's voice had settled into her chest like a calm wave. Put that block down and come with me. Clarissa swallowed hard, unsure whether she had heard him correctly. Men didn't talk to her that way. Nobody ever spoke to her with such gentleness and certainty. Not the foreman, not the neighbors, not anyone. Life had trained her to move only when ordered, to obey only when shouted at, to endure only when pain forced her to. But this was different. This was soft. This was unbelievable. Sir, she whispered, unsure, I'm working. If I leave now, the foreman he may cut my pay. Victor took a step closer. His eyes did not carry judgment, only concern. Clarissa, he said quietly, if you continue carrying blocks today, I fear you may break before life ever gives you the opportunity to breathe. Her lips parted slowly. No one had ever worried about her breaking. People only worried whether she could carry more. Victor continued, I'm not taking you away from work. It is one talk. Just a conversation. Nothing more. Then with a faint, warm smile he added, and I promise, your pay for today is already covered. Clarissa blinked. Covered? By who? He gently tilted his head. By me. Something inside her chest trembled. Something that felt like shock, disbelief, and warmth mixed together. She didn't know why, but she felt safe. Truly safe, maybe for the first time since she was 12 years old. Slowly she lowered the block to the ground. The foreman, a burly man with a loud voice, started walking toward them with confusion on his face. Clarissa, why did you stop? Who? When he saw Victor, his tone changed immediately. The wealthy man standing in front of him was no ordinary visitor. His face was familiar, perhaps from newspapers, billboards, business interviews. Good afternoon, sir, the foreman greeted, suddenly respectful. Is she disturbing you? Not at all, Victor replied calmly. She's coming with me. I'll settle her pay for the day. The foreman's eyes widened slightly, then he nodded repeatedly. Yes, sir. No problem, sir. No problem at all. Clarissa looked down shyly, almost embarrassed by the sudden shift in how people treated her. A moment ago she was just another dusty worker under the sun. Now she was someone standing next to a billionaire. Victor motioned toward his SUV. Please, come. Clarissa hesitated only for a second before following him. The other workers stared, whispering quietly among themselves. Who was this girl and why did such a wealthy man care about her? Inside the quiet SUV, the air felt cold, comfortable, almost unreal for Clarissa. She sat gently, afraid to touch anything too polished. Her hands, still covered in dried cement, trembled on her lap. Victor noticed. You're safe here, he said softly. Sir, why are you doing all this? She asked in a barely audible voice. He smiled, staring at the steering wheel for a moment before looking back at her. Because you did something most people wouldn't do. He met her eyes again. You returned my wallet. With all that money inside. You didn't take anything. She looked down shyly. It wasn't mine. That's exactly why I'm here, he replied. Do you know how many people would have taken even a little? But you left without waiting for thanks. That kind of heart is rare, Clarissa. Very rare. Her fingers tightened on her knees. She didn't know how to respond. Victor inhaled gently. There's something else. I tried calling your number many times. Her chest tightened painfully. My phone. I lost it the same day. Her voice cracked. I'm sorry, sir. He shook his head. Don't apologize. None of this is your fault. Life puts obstacles in places we don't expect. but somehow you still found your way back to me." His words made her look up. Did he really believe destiny had played a role? He started the car. "Come with me. Just a few places. Nothing dangerous." He smiled playfully. "I promise I'm not kidnapping you." Clarissa laughed softly, her first laugh in months. "Okay, where are we going?" "To meet someone," he said. They drove to the quiet estate where the old nanny, Mrs. Helen, was resting. As soon as Clarissa entered the living room, Mrs. Helen smiled warmly at her, even though she had never seen her before. "You must be Clarissa," she said with grandmotherly affection. "I've heard a lot about you." Clarissa blushed. "Good afternoon, Ma." "Good afternoon, my dear. Come sit." Clarissa sat gently beside her. The elderly woman took Clarissa's hand softly, eyes soft with gratitude. "You returned his wallet. God bless you. Many people these days." She shook her head sadly. "But you did the right thing." Clarissa felt her eyes well up a little. "I didn't do anything special." Mrs. Helen smiled knowingly. "Only people who have suffered understand why honesty is precious." Clarissa looked at her with surprise. How did she know? Mrs. Helen continued, "A dishonest heart is a luxury of those who have never been hungry." Victor watched them quietly from a distance, amazed by how naturally Clarissa fit into the room, into their lives, into the warmth he had always longed for. Later, Victor drove Clarissa through the estate, showing her the ongoing construction. "I'm building a home for Mrs. Helen," he said softly. "She deserves it." Clarissa nodded, eyes glowing with admiration. "You're a good person, sir." "No," Victor replied with a small smile. "I'm just trying to be half as good as she was to me." They walked slowly along the partially built walkway. The cool breeze pressed against Clarissa's dusty clothes, and for the first time in a long time she felt, not tired, not weak, but seen. Victor stopped suddenly and turned to her. "Clarissa, can I ask you something?" She swallowed nervously. "Yes, sir." "Where do you work next after this construction site?" She shrugged softly. "Anywhere they call me I go. I don't have a permanent place. When one job finishes I just look for another." "And your siblings?" Victor asked gently. Her voice became even softer. "I do everything for them. Daniel tries to work small jobs sometimes. Bella still goes to school. I want her to finish. I don't want her to live like me." Victor's heart clenched. "You've carried responsibilities far heavier than cement blocks." Clarissa looked down shyly. He reached into his pocket and brought out a simple white envelope. "It's not much," he said gently, "but take it. Use it to rest for a few days. Buy food for the house. Fix anything you need." Her breath caught. "Sir, I can't. Please." He stepped closer. "You have helped me in a way you don't understand. Let me return that kindness." She stared at the envelope like it was something fragile and holy. Then with trembling hands she accepted it. "Thank you, sir," she whispered, voice breaking. "God bless you." Victor smiled. "He already did, when he allowed me to meet you." Her chest warmed deeply. He continued softly, "You have no idea how rare you are, Clarissa." She blinked rapidly, tears close. "Sir, may I ask something?" "Of course." "Why me?" she whispered. Victor inhaled deeply. "Because your heart is pure. Because you choose honesty even when you have nothing. Because you return something valuable without expecting anything in return." He paused. "And because, from the moment I heard about you I felt peace. A peace I haven't felt in years." Clarissa looked away overwhelmed. Nobody had ever spoken to her like that. Not once. Not ever. Victor stepped a little closer. "Clarissa, I don't want this to be the last time we speak." His voice softened further. "I want to help you. I want to know you. Not because you returned my wallet, but because your spirit is unlike anyone I've ever met." Her lips trembled. "Sir, I don't know how to handle all this kindness." "You don't have to handle it," he said gently. "Just allow it." For a long moment they stood quietly, two souls from opposite worlds, drawn together by a single act of honesty. Finally Victor spoke again. "Let me take you home." The drive was calm. Soft music played and Clarissa sat quietly, afraid her dusty clothes would stain the car seats. Victor noticed and chuckled softly. "Clarissa, you're more important than the leather seats." She blushed deeply, not knowing what to say. When they reached her street, a narrow pathway filled with noisy neighbors and children running barefoot, Clarissa felt suddenly small again. Her world was too different from his. Victor parked gently. Before she stepped out, he called her softly. Clarissa. She turned, holding the door. This is not the end, he said firmly. I will call you tomorrow. Please pick up. She nodded nervously. Yes, sir. And one more thing, he added with a gentle smile. Don't call me sir. Call me Victor. Her heart jumped. Oh, Victor. He smiled widely. Good. She stepped out, clutching the envelope. As she walked toward her front door, Victor watched her quietly. Something in her walk, tired yet determined, made him want to change her entire world. When Clarissa entered the house, Bella ran to her. Sister. You're back, eh? What happened? Who dropped you in that big car? But Clarissa didn't answer at first. She leaned on the wall, closed her eyes and tried to steady her heartbeat. Daniel approached slowly. Are you okay? Clarissa opened her eyes and exhaled softly. I'm fine. She opened the envelope and the children gasped. There were crisp notes inside. More money than Clarissa had ever held at once. Bella placed her hands over her mouth. Sister, where did you get all this? Clarissa smiled faintly. Someone kind. That night she barely slept. She kept replaying Victor's words in her mind. You are rare. I felt peace when I met you. This is not the end. She pressed her hand to her chest. Could destiny really be this kind? After so many years of pain, was she allowed to hope? The next morning, outside her house, a black SUV parked quietly. Victor stepped out with a soft smile. Clarissa froze in shock. He smiled deeper and said the words that would change her life forever. Clarissa, may I come in? Her heart nearly stopped. Because kindness from a stranger is rare. The love from a man who sees your soul before your clothes, your heart before your past, your spirit before your poverty. That is a miracle. And miracles, boss, sometimes walk into your life in the shape of a billionaire who simply says, put that block down and come with me.